Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to dive into something literally every single one of us experiences, but almost nobody actually understands. We're talking about why our minds so often feel completely, totally overwhelmed by the unknown. We're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden psychology behind our everyday anxieties and uncover the fascinating reasons why simply not knowing what happens next can feel so utterly terrifying. All right, let's get right into it.
Picture this for a second. You're standing at a crossroads. Ask yourself honestly, which path are you going to take? Are you picking the familiar road, the one you've walked 100 times before? Or are you heading into that dense, unknown forest where the trail just completely disappears? I'm willing to bet most of you chose the familiar road. And honestly, there's a really good reason for that. For the vast majority of human history, choosing that unknown forest didn't lead to some fun, spontaneous adventure. No, it usually meant injury, starvation, or straight-up death. The unknown was a literal threat to your very existence.
So let's dive into Section 1, your ancient survival machine, and exactly why the modern world feels so overwhelming.
To really wrap our heads around why you picked the familiar road, we have to talk about the hardware inside your head. Because right now, you're essentially running heavily outdated survival software. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, early humans lived in these wildly unpredictable environments. Food was never guaranteed, the weather could change overnight, and predators were quite literally lurking just beyond the campfire. A single mistake? That cost you your life. Now flash forward to today. Uncertainty means something vastly different, right? It's much less dangerous. It's starting a new job, having a tough conversation, or moving to a new city. But what happens? Your heart still races, your palms get sweaty, your physical reactions remain exactly the same, as if you were facing down a hungry predator. Why? Because your brain simply cannot tell the difference between an ancient physical threat and modern social uncertainty.
Over thousands and thousands of generations, natural selection favored brains that notice danger immediately. You see, your brain didn't evolve just to sit around thinking deep, philosophical thoughts. It evolved to be a prediction machine. The better it predicted the future, the higher your ancestors' chances of survival. Because of this baked-in design, whenever the future becomes uncertain, your brain's prediction software basically fails. And when it fails, it automatically defaults to treating that uncertainty as a massive, life-threatening danger.
Moving right along to Section 2, why predictability feels safe and the energy-saving power of habit.
Think about your own morning routine for a second. You probably wake up, do the zombie walk to the bathroom, brush your teeth the exact same way, take a highly familiar commute, and probably eat similar meals week in and week out. We call this the daily autopilot. Now, these habits aren't just convenient, they're actually a really clever biological strategy. Every familiar habit reduces uncertainty, which allows your brain to conserve its precious energy. When something unexpected happens, like a sudden change of plans, your brain has to abandon that autopilot and work overtime to create brand new predictions. And that extra effort, that feels stressful. We literally crave our routines because they act as energy-saving mechanisms for our minds.
Which brings us to Section 3, modern life, ancient triggers, and when opportunities feel like threats.
This is exactly where our ancient biological setup can start working against us. Imagine you get offered your absolute dream job. I'm talking better salary, exciting work, the whole shebang. But it requires moving to a brand new country. Suddenly, all that excitement vanishes, and you get hit like a ton of bricks with these thoughts. What if I don't fit in? What if I totally fail? What if I regret leaving? Notice something absolutely crucial here. None of those what-ifs are based on facts. They are entirely based on uncertainty. From an evolutionary perspective, your brain is just filling in the blanks with worst-case scenarios, because expecting danger was always safer than assuming everything would be perfectly fine. Today, that exact same protective instinct will actively try to stop you from pursuing a better life.
In fact, psychologists have found that uncertainty is anxiety's absolute favorite fuel. Think about waiting for exam results or medical tests, or just a really important email. The outcomes are entirely unknown. And because your brain can't predict what's going to happen, it just keeps frantically searching for answers. It imagines future problems, and it keeps your internal alarm system switched fully on. It's crazy, but your brain would actually rather know a difficult truth right now than face the agonizing tension of endless uncertainty. Knowing a difficult truth gives you certainty, which lets the brain finally stop searching. But the unknown, that just keeps the fire burning.
So what we have here is a severe evolutionary mismatch. Think about the timeline. Human brain evolution takes thousands and thousands of years. The ancestral world changed incredibly slowly over many generations. But our modern world, fueled by artificial intelligence, new technologies, and a constantly shifting global economy, it changes in a matter of months. We are out here confronting a rapidly morphing environment using ancient instincts that literally just haven't had time to catch up.
Listen, if you've been feeling drained, stressed, or just completely burnt out lately, you really need to hear this. Mental exhaustion is not weakness. It's not a personal flaw, and you are definitely not failing at life. It is simply an ancient brain trying its hardest to process unprecedented modern uncertainty. Your biological hardware is constantly doing heavy lifting that evolution just never prepared it for. Understanding this is really the first step toward giving yourself a little bit of grace.
Okay, let's shift gears and look at the bright side. In Section 4, rewiring your brain and how to teach your survival machine new tricks.
I definitely don't want to leave you feeling like you're permanently stuck with a biological disadvantage. Fortunately for all of us, our brain isn't carved in stone. Thanks to something called neuroplasticity, it is remarkably adaptable. Neuroplasticity is the brain's incredible ability to physically change and update its prediction software through new experiences. This means you are not held hostage by your evolutionary history. Your biological hardware can actually be updated, and the best part is you have the power to hit that update button.
So, what's the blueprint for rewriting your software? It's pretty straightforward. Step 1. You deliberately face the uncertainty. Maybe it's giving a public speech or walking into your first day at a new job. Step 2. You survive it and discover, hey, you're actually okay. Step 3. Your brain takes that new data and updates its predictions, realizing the threat wasn't actually real. And finally, Step 4. The unknown becomes a little less frightening next time. You see, confidence isn't some magical trait you're just born with. It's the biological result of repeated evidence of safety. That first public speech is terrifying. By the 10th one, it's completely manageable. You just have to feed your brain the data it needs to feel safe.
Finally, let's bring it all together in Section 5, embracing the unknown and changing your relationship with uncertainty.
If we accept that uncertainty is just an entirely unavoidable part of modern life, the goal isn't to eliminate it. That's literally impossible. The real goal is to completely change your relationship with it. When you look at the biggest leaps in human progress, whether we're talking about world-changing inventions, massive scientific discoveries, personal achievements, or even building meaningful relationships, every single one of them shares the exact same ingredient. They all require stepping into the unknown. Growth, progress, and joy have always required navigating uncertainty. Sure, your brain's default setting might be to resist it at all costs, but history consistently rewards the people who learn to push past that initial alarm bell and step out into the fog anyway.
So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final, very powerful question. The very next time you're faced with a new opportunity and you feel that sudden, overwhelming urge to retreat back to safety, I want you to pause, take a breath, recognize your ancient survival system kicking into high gear, and ask yourself this exact question. Is this actually dangerous, or is it simply unfamiliar? Because your brain can't always tell the difference, and sometimes realizing it's merely unfamiliar is the only thing standing between you and a profoundly better future. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, the unknown isn't just a place to hide from, it's usually where your greatest opportunities begin. So what's your next unfamiliar step going to be?